Hey, this is Trent with 3T Outdoors. Just going to do a quick review on the 2018 Exo Mountain Gear pack and K2 frame. I just picked this up this past week. They're shipping them out from pre-orders. They're still holding back on the Fusion, which I believe starts shipping as soon as tomorrow. And that's the new Fusion pack that many of you saw at the expo in Utah a couple of weeks ago. This is the Ranger Green. I went with a solid color this year. Last year I ran the Cypher and the multicam. This year I decided to go with the Ranger Green just to mix it up. I really like the looks of it. I'm just going to point out some differences this year. There's not a ton of differences from last year. Not a lot of changes. I believe next year you'll see some significant changes, but the frame, the bag and everything performed really well last year, so there were a lot of needs for new changes going into 2018. You're still just going to point out some of the features on the pack and some of the changes and try to keep this as short as possible so I don't bore you to death. This is the 3500, and on all their packs going forward, at least their bags, what they're doing is they're marking them with what pack size it is. So you're seeing this year, this is the 3500. It's a K2 3500. It sits on the K2 frame. It's a 3500 bag. Same features you've got in the past. You have the float lid. So the lid is going to have a reverse entry with the zipper. In there, you've got the Velcro on top still, where you're able to take one of the stash pockets and load up some batteries, some flashlights, what have you, headlamps, and they can go in that stash pocket. There's plenty of room. I keep my license, my knife, headlamp, some toilet paper, and a small first aid kit in there. Just quick access items that I need to get to during the day, and that goes in the lid. And it is a floatable lid, so as this bag expands, which I'm going to show you just in a minute, really I can get at least 4 nights out of this. I could stretch it a little bit more if I wanted to, and I'll show you how far the 3500 expands, so if you've got questions. Same features that you've gotten last year on the bags. This is the stretch pocket. It's accessed with a double zipper. I can fit my Viper Vortex 85 in there. It'll slide right down in there and I can zip that up. What I typically keep in there is my puffy jacket from First Light. That Uncompadre goes right in there, sometimes with some rain pants. It's quick, easy to access, and it's right up front. The main compartment is accessed just with the side zipper here. And within that main compartment, you're able to load up a couple of more stash pockets. Try to get closer and show you that, those of you who aren't familiar with it. Those stash pockets just Velcro right on the inside. I love to stay organized, so I keep everything separated from batteries, some more first aid kits, whatever you've got that you want to organize into different compartments. The stash pockets allow you to do that. I also use some of the Kafaru bags to put my food in for the day. Also for a first aid kit and a kill kit, I use the Kafaru bags and keep everything just separated, so if I need to pull out the kill kit on a kill, I can lay it on a rock and take care of business with the elk and start to dress out the elk. Really the main change I guess going into this year is the belt, and I ran this yesterday. I was out picking up some sheds and spotting for some turkeys and put a decent load on it. I put 40 pounds on the frame and packed out just a couple of small sheds, but it performed really well. What they've done with the belt this year, you're gonna see it's a little thicker than last year. I believe Steve was saying it's about an 1/8, maybe a little thicker than an 1/8 of an inch thicker. It's, in my opinion, I believe they've even got it a little bit wider, so it gives you some great coverage on your hip. The lumbar pads staying the same. Last year they nailed it. It's thick enough, yet it's not too big that it's overflowing into the front part of your hips up into here. So it stays right back into the back right here on the lumbar where it should stay. They also changed the fabric on the belt this year. Instead of going with the mesh like you see on the harness right here, they had that on the belt the last few years. They just went with this more of a synthetic poly material, which is quite stretchable. It breathes really well. So yesterday we hit about 60 degrees, and packing out 3 miles up a trailhead, it still breathed really well. I didn't get a lot of moisture going on down through the belt, and it held tight. So I'm very impressed with the fabric this year. And the reason they did that is a lot of guys were saying they were getting stickers caught in the mesh when they'd set their pack down on the ground in a field or what have you. Some of those stickers were digging into the mesh, and they throw that belt on, and when you cinch down a load, the last thing you want is kind of like a pebble in your boot. You just don't want any disruption going on in your hip. Again, if you're familiar with the K2 frame, it stays the same really. It's the titanium internal frame covered by the Cordura. As you can see, it's a flex frame. It's a slight flex. This is why I've stuck with the Exo mountain gear for so long, is because of that frame. What it does is when you get that heavy load on you and you cinch down that belt, you just don't want the frame to move side to side, causing friction back here and heat. You just don't need that, especially if you got 100 pounds or 90 pounds on there. This frame, when it flexes, it'll move with your body, and so it's not doing this side to side. The frame itself starts to flex. So really that is the main change for the year. Those of you that have a long torso, again, this is fully adjustable. Talked to a guy the other day who has a 20 or a 21 inch torso, and he still ordered the K2 frame and the 3500 bag. I am about an 18.5 torso, and I've got it 1 notch from the top. These are just little clips that you can clip out. You can move that harness up and down on the frame. Just remove it with the Velcro. You'd be surprised how well that holds into place. And you know, a guy with a 21 inch torso is trying this out, and so far so good. He hasn't had any complaints. He's put a heavy load on it and things have worked out for him. It'll run all the way down. I've got buddies with the shorter torso. They're down here in the 16, and you can adjust that to fit. The key is make sure you get a good fit so you're not getting rub, you're not putting too much weight on your shoulders. All right, I've got it loaded up now. You can see you can get easily 3 nights out of it. 4 or 5 nights is a good possibility as well. So I still have a lot of room to fill this thing up. I've still got the 2 side pockets that will compress down to nothing if you're not using them. Spotting scope can go in there. I actually take my tent out of the tent stuff sack, and I use one of these side pockets and get that, I believe it's a Big Agnes Seed House Ultralight 3. I stuff it all the way down in there with my poles. You do have side pouches that come about 1/4 of the way up as well. That's where my bugle will go, is on the outside, along with trekking poles or a tripod on the other side. So there's still a lot of capacity left. Again, the lid right now is in the same position I had it in when I had it just for the day pack that you saw a minute ago. This bag, it's a roll top feature, so I've still got easily another from basically here almost to the top that I could fill with clothing, food, what have you. They also have a dry bag that can be integrated right inside of your, anywhere from a 2,000 bag, 3,500 or 5,500. They have different size dry bags that Exo sells that will actually button right in the top of your bag, and so you can stuff those dry bags full of what gear you don't want to get wet and slide it right down in. I use those bags personally. They're the Exo dry bags when I pack up into Wyoming, into the Wind Rivers range. It's grizzly country, and so we hang our food. What I'll typically do is just put my camera and the equipment I don't want to get wet inside the dry bag, keep it inside my main compartment, pull it out, and transfer all my food and trash into that dry bag, and then I'll hang that in the tree. That way it stays dry and, you know, away from the bears. But this is the Exo 3500 in Ranger Green, 2018. I promise you guys, I've ran it. I've ran a lot of, there's a lot out there, a lot of good packs, and I'm not knocking any of them. I've tried quite a few of them. I've stuck with EXO for the main reason that I love the fit. Packing heavy loads, I've never had any trouble. It's basically as comfortable as it's gotten for me. And the customer service is top notch. Steve and Lenny will take care of you if you do have any concerns or questions with your gear. And if you guys have any questions, subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can also look us up on Instagram at 3T Outdoors. Thanks.